There's a popular talking point among conservatives and even moderates that the media is too liberal. The liberal media is a term that's thrown around all the time to try and discredit anything that comes out of CNN or MSNBC and other outlets.
Joining us now to discuss all the alt-left radical media's blatant bias
and the liberal media.
So you're telling us that, yes, the liberal media is a kind of a cabal of leftists?
But how liberal is the media actually? Now, there's a new poll out from Navigator Research that posed a series of questions about the Mueller investigation to respondents. Now, look at these answers to this question and really ask yourself, if the media is so liberal, then why aren't people more aware of what is actually going on in the Mueller investigation? So here are the questions that were posed to respondents. As you may know, there is currently an investigation going on right now into Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign and any Russian government involvement in the 2016 election. How much have you heard about this investigation? Now, the first series of answers there are, I guess, fairly typical. So about half the people have said that they've heard a lot about the investigation, and 32% have heard some, with 15% saying they've heard a little. But the second question is when things really get clear about how much the media is liberal or conservative. So they asked people, to the best of your knowledge, has the investigation uncovered any crimes? Only 41% of people said yes, with 59% of people saying no. Now, here are the facts. The Mueller investigation has obtained 5 guilty pleas and 17 criminal indictments. Now, if this was an issue that affected the Obama administration, this was during, Obama's 8 years, there was an investigation into his administration, and there were 5 guilty pleas and 17 criminal indictments. Do you really think that people wouldn't know about that? Do you really think that we wouldn't be talking about that all the time? That wouldn't be headline news every single day on every network? But here it is with Trump. There are 5 guilty pleas, 17 criminal indictments. So let me go through some of these. So this was broken down by Vox. Michael Flynn, former national security advisor and key Trump campaign surrogate, pleaded guilty to making false statements to federal investigators in December. Rick Gates, a top aide on the Trump campaign and a longtime business partner of Paul Manafort, pleaded guilty to false statements and 1 count of conspiracy. George Papadopoulos, a foreign campaign policy advisor on the campaign, pleaded guilty to false statements. Alexander van der Zwaan, a London-based Dutch attorney, pleaded guilty to making false statements about his contacts with Gates and an unnamed Ukrainian. 13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian companies have been indicted on conspiracy charges and some on identity theft charges related to Russian social media and hacking efforts. Richard Panetto, a California resident, has pleaded guilty to an identity theft charge related to the Russian indictments. And Paul Manafort, Trump's campaign chair, is facing 2 separate indictments, one in D.C. about conspiracy, money laundering, false statements, and failure to disclose foreign assets, and one in Virginia about tax, financial, and bank fraud charges. Now, I ask you again, if this happened to Obama, if Obama's national security advisor pled guilty, if Obama's former campaign chair faced indictments, do you really think that only 40% of people in the country would be aware of it? This liberal media bullshit is just that. Bullshit. This is with the media focused on Donald Trump. Even with them focused on Trump, people still aren't aware that the campaign has faced these sorts of charges and guilty pleas and indictments. People don't know about this. Now, the other half of this is the stuff that I care more about. Policy-related stuff. So people will say, oh, the media is so liberal. Okay, if the media is so liberal, how much airtime have CNN and MSNBC dedicated to the BDS movement, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel for their killing of Palestinians and their encroachment on territory and not willing to work together towards a peace deal? Where is the discussion about a BDS movement? Why isn't anybody on air asking politicians, do you support BDS? Has that ever been asked by anybody ever on CNN or MSNBC? I'm going to wager no. How about a living wage? How often is a living wage discussed on CNN or MSNBC? How often do they talk about how we need to raise the minimum wage because people can't get by? How often is that discussed unless Bernie Sanders is on? No one else discusses this. How about tuition-free college? Once again, another policy that is never discussed on air. How about getting corporate money out of politics, or how corporate money is destroying politics? Barely ever mentioned. How about raising taxes on the wealthy and multinational corporations? Never discussed. How about reforming Wall Street? How about ending the wars? How about Medicare for all? Bernie Sanders had to go online to do his town hall so that he could discuss Medicare for all, because CNN and MSNBC don't cover that. They have no interest in that because they are tied to corporate money. Why would they? So when it comes to economic issues, when it comes to issues where if the rich paid a little more, if corporations paid a little more, they could actually help the rest of the country out. When it comes to issues like that, never discussed. But yeah, sure, the media is so liberal. Name me 5 progressives, just 5. Name me 5 progressives that support these policies that are on air. I can think of one, Nina Turner. She makes the rare appearance on CNN, the president of Our Revolution. She's the only person on air that is an actual progressive that fights for these sorts of issues. Who else? Maybe there's one other person that I can't even think of. But seriously, Nate, if you can think of 5 progressives that are on air on CNN and MSNBC on a regular basis, post below. I can't think of any except for Nina Turner. So this is why people get confused. So do CNN and MSNBC talk about LGBT rights? Yes. Abortion rights? Yes. Racial injustice? Yes. But when it gets to the economic issues and how some of these issues like racial injustice could be helped through economic means, silence. So don't fall for this idea that the media is liberal. It's not. The media is corporate. The media is moderate at best because they are tied to big money. They have no interest to discuss real progressive issues. Hey, if you like this video, hit that subscribe button below and consider throwing me a few bucks on Patreon at patreon.com/therationalnational or therationalnational.com/join.